appreciate it. Well, it was a good news, bad news scenario in Carolina as we saw Christian McCaffrey. He looked fully healthy from that ankle injury that really took him out of action for 6 weeks. But now comes the bad news. It looks like that he could be out again, and this time with the shoulder injury suffered in that loss to the Chiefs. Now, head coach Matt Rule says CMC is currently considered day-to-day, putting his status in down for Sunday's game against the Bucs. If he can't go, Mike Davis will once again take over the starting duties. Meanwhile, in Dallas, with Andy Dalton sidelined due to a concussion, Garrett Gilbert, we've been talking about him earlier in the program, impressed against the Steelers, but it won't be enough, though, to keep the gig. Executive Vice President Stephen Jones saying Monday when Dalton is cleared to play, he once again will take over as the starter. More on the Cowboys. As the team's struggles have been put into question whether head coach Mike McCarthy will return for a second season with the team, but Jones put those rumors to rest, emphatically giving his coach the vote of confidence.
Absolutely, unequivocal. You're changing a culture. You change when you change the leadership, and certainly we like stability. That's why we stayed with Jason for 10 years, and certainly we know these things don't happen overnight. In terms of when you turn things around, we'll continue to go to work every day and improve as a football team.
And in fairness to McCarthy, of course, he loses his franchise quarterback, the backup quarterback, so a little hard to evaluate in terms of that. But still looks like on the sidelines this past Sunday, the Cowboys looked like they had more juice with Gilbert, I understand.
They did look good with Gilbert. Their offensive line, another issue. COVID-19, another issue. So there's lots going on down there in Dallas. We're going to stick with Dallas right now. Thank you so much, Will. Here's what head coach Mike McCarthy had to say about getting support from his front office despite the team's struggles so far this season.
Well, I mean, I think anytime you have confidence around you, it's important, to your program and what you're trying to build. But I think, like everybody, I know myself in particular, I'm focused on, improving each and every week and trying to get done what we still are capable of getting done this year.
Okay, they haven't been great. They've been pretty bad, but they also just almost beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, guys. Anyone surprised with the vote of confidence from Stephen Jones? Nate?
No, I'm not surprised. That game was impressive. And I know they're scraping together as much motivation as they can, playing with the fourth-string quarterback that people really didn't have any tape on. I mean, if you weren't familiar with Garrett Gilbert, then you weren't familiar with what he was going to do on the field. But that gave you enough confidence to know that they have the talent. I think the most important thing about this team is that they're so good on paper, they just have to show us how talented they are. That's what's the most disappointing thing about the Cowboys. So disappointing.
So the question was about the coach. Are you surprised then if they have all this talent and they're a two-win team?
It all fell apart when Dak went down. Yeah. I think the one thing that we hung our hat on was that even though the defense was terrible at the beginning of the season, Dak was putting up 500-yard games.
Did they play hard for him on Sunday?
For Gilbert?
For Coach Mike McCarthy.
I don't know if it's for Coach. To be honest, I think it's for them. It's for the players. Because as good as these guys are and as locked in as they may be in these contracts, what happens with teams like this, it blows up from the inside out. This was about to implode. And oftentimes when these guys are getting paid as much as they are, they'll say, you know what, enough. Zeke's not doing enough. DeMarcus Lawrence is not doing enough. Jalen Smith is not doing enough. I don't care how much we're paying them. We need to blow this up from the inside and hit the reset button. This stops everybody from hitting the panic button.
You're right. And listen, it's the cold, harsh reality. The Dak Prescott injury was good for Mike McCarthy's job security. I mean, it's the whole season is a wash now. Their quarterback broke his ankle. They're floundering. The problem is that they were really bad before Dak got hurt. So I'm not surprised at all that they got the vote of confidence, especially since the Jones guys don't like firing coaches, apparently. Next year is really, really, really telling because I hate holding it. Sometimes teams hold on to coaches just because they want stability, whatever this factor is, when it's not the right choice. And I would just point to a conversation we had a couple of years ago about the Arizona Cardinals who fired Steve Wilkes after a one-and-done year. And we were all in our feelings, and some people were really offended by it. I think it was the right move. They knew he was the wrong coach. They're like, we're not keeping him around for some stability factor. We're getting a new guy, and the franchise is better. Next year will be the Mike McCarthy year, and if they're not good next year, they should replace him.
I also think the Jones family respects their wallets and they gave him a 5-year huge deal. You don't fire a guy 1 year into a 5-year deal, and I think they're looking at that as well. And I would argue the same exact thing you're saying, Kyle, but I would also say this offseason really hurt McCarthy in that they put in an entirely new defensive scheme, an entirely new offense, a whole new thing, and it was, you know, what's going on with the world. They weren't even so like it's almost a mulligan at this point. I would say they're not going to blame him for this entire season, but you better believe next year, week 1, all eyes are on Mike McCarthy.
First-year head coach loses his quarterback, loses his backup to a concussion and COVID-19. Not too much to work with. Okay, we all agree on something.
A lot of teams are dealing with that, though. No excuses.
With their starting quarterback and their backup quarterback being out.
Look at San Francisco. You see them complaining?
The Jets look pretty good.
Show up every day.
Oh, I mean, Flacco
Dallas Cowboys is supposed to be America's team. I'm just saying, there's a lot of teams dealing with a lot of stuff.
So are you surprised then that Steven is coming out, Stevie, that he's coming out and saying that what he's saying? That
no, I agree with everything we're saying. Peter's spot on. You know, the Jones family, they want their investments to mature. They're going to give it time. Kyle saying if he doesn't do anything next year with a healthy squad, they should think about replacing him. This is a wild year, but I think finally the Cowboys showed a little bit of heart, and that's all we were.
I do too. I think they had some passion, something we've been waiting to see all season, and we saw it against the Pittsburgh